All right, so this is the warm up. We're going to go over that for fifth period. Now, normally we would look at your averages and things like that, but I'm just going to go over some of the questions I think we need to go over the most. So I need you to pay attention and see where you may have gone wrong. Now, numbers 1, 2, and 3 were on the warm up from yesterday. So we're going to skip those because I made an accident in making this. So we're going to go ahead and skip to item number 4. And it's asking us to find the approximate area of this geometric figure. Now, this figure is a special shape, so we're going to have to cut the special shape into shapes that we know. So what I instantly look and I see a triangle and a rectangle. So I'm going to chop it right here with the triangle and the rectangle. And so now I'm going to find the area of the both shapes and then add them together. Now, because it's on a grid, I can just look and I can notice that there's 1, 2 squares in that rectangle. So the area of that rectangle is 2. Now the base of my triangle, because my triangle formula is base times height divided by 2. So I need the base and the height. So the base runs from side to side, and there's 1, 2, 3 squares long, so the base has a length of 3. The height runs from the base to the top, and so that's got 1, 2 squares, so a length of 2. So the height is 2. So I have a base of 3 times a height of 2, and we have to divide that by 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my triangle is 3, my rectangle is 2. Add those together, and I should have gotten 5 square units squared. Okay? Alright, so let's move back to, here, let me see if I can clear the screen. There we go. Let's look at number 5. This one, too, is also a special shape that can be chopped. There's several different ways you could chop this one because there's several different shapes that you can see. I instantly see a bunch of triangles, so I want to chop off these triangles here. I'm going to chop it there, there. And then I see that this is a really big rectangle. So I've got this big pink rectangle right here. And then I'm going to chop that little triangle off right there. So now I've got a triangle here. Okay? Once again, because it's on a grid and there's not a ton of squares, I can just simply count the squares. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares right there. So I've got 7 squares. Then I've got triangles. And if you notice, these triangles are only in one square. And they only take up half a square. So you've got a half, and a half. So when you add those together, you've got 1/2 plus 1/2, which gives me a whole. And then I've got an extra half here. If I add that up, 7 plus 1 gives me 8, plus this half here gives me 8.5, which can be written as 8.5. Now you could have seen these in other areas. You could have looked and seen that this could have been a trapezoid. You could have found the area of the trapezoid there. And there's a trapezoid here. You could have found a trapezoid there. But that's almost overcomplicating things. Here you have just simple squares, and you can count these squares. And it makes life a little bit easier. Now, if there was a ton of squares in there, you probably wouldn't have time to count them, and you would actually have to find the areas. Alright, the last one, for whatever reason, in my other classes, this one was a biggie that was missed. And I have a feeling it's because we didn't follow the formula. So the formula for a triangle is 1/2 base times height, or base times height divided by 2. So with that, I'm going to first, when I do a triangle, is I locate the height first. And so my height always runs from tip to a flat surface. So the height is 10.5. Okay? The base is going to touch the height. So this is the height here, which is 14.5. And then the biggie is dividing it by 2. I would almost guarantee to bet money if you miss this, it's because you forgot to divide it by 2. Okay, that's a big, big, big issue that we have is forgetting to divide by 2. We also talked about in slants, we never use a measurement of a slant piece. So we really don't need those pieces there. So another reason you may have got this wrong is because you used a slant piece when you didn't need to. So when you multiply these two together, I have 14.5 times 10.5, which equals, I'm going to get out my calculator, 14.5 times 10.5 gives me 152.25. And then I'll still have to divide that by 2, which ends up giving me 76 and 125 thousandths. So this should have been my answer. Okay? So tomorrow when we do these, we need to make sure we pay attention to our formula sheet. So what I need you to do now is I need you to do your warm-up sheets in your warm-up section of your binder, and I need you to look at your homework with me and see where we messed up on our homework, okay? So your warm-up should be in your binder. Your Chromebook at this point needs to be tucked back in your book bag because we're not going to use your Chromebook for the rest of the period, okay? And let's look at that homework folder that we have there, okay? Let me see. All right. Alright, because I'm not here with you today in 5th period, y'all got to give me, and you can get to look at we're going to go ahead and go over the answers to the homework. Okay, so when I grade your homework tomorrow, you should all have the correct answers for the homework. Okay, but I'm not going to go over all of them. I do want to go over number 1. Number 1 says the Smiths drove 3,000 miles in 75 hours. At this rate, how long will it take them to drive 4,000 miles? Rate is a key word to me. When I think of rate, I think of a ratio. When I think of finding missing pieces of a ratio, I think of a ratio box. Okay? And with our ratio boxes, if you remember, we have to label it with the two things we're comparing. Well, to figure out what we're comparing, I locate my numbers. I have 3,000 what? Miles. And I have 75 hours. So I'm comparing miles and hours. So my initial ratio, the Smiths traveled 3,000 miles in 75 hours. We want to know how long it's going to take them to travel 4,000 miles. So to solve for our ratio box, if you remember, we have to cross multiply, and then we would divide by 3,000, which would end up giving us 100 hours. Okay, for the most part, number 2, you should be fine. Number 3, you should be fine. Number 4 is where things got a little fuzzy for some people. It says the area of one face of a cube is 49 cubic inches. Okay, what is the volume of the cube? So when I have a cube, okay, let's see if I can draw a beautiful little cube for you people. Alright, this right here is a face. Those flat pieces, those flat sides are considered faces. So that is one face. So one face is equivalent to 49 inches. Because it's a cube, we know it's made up of squares. And squares have the same side lengths. So we have to think what times itself will give you 49. That's right, 7. So 7 times 7 gives you 49. Well, if we know the height and the width, volume is length times width times height. We know the length is 7, and we know the height is 7. Because it's a cube, all the sides are the same, so the width is also 7. So when I do 7 times 7 times 7, I get 343 inches cubed. For whatever reason, that is not right. This is the correct answer. So you almost have to work backwards there. Okay? Alright. Moving on. So what I want you to do is go ahead and put your homework back in your homework folder. I want you to put your homework folder in your book bag so that you don't have that out and we don't have all this other stuff going on. Okay? You're responsible for making sure that you get make sure tonight's homework is complete and that you have the correct answers from today's homework. Okay? And now I want y'all to get out that packet that we started on Monday, the surface area notes packet, where it has the different 3D shapes and the nets on it. And on Monday, we talked about how a 3D shape could be flattened into a 2D drawing, which is called a net. And we started talking about how the different side pieces can be congruent and how opposite sides are congruent to other sides.
Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Churchill will be covering you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys, I'm recording this during my playroom. All right, so now we're going to put that into practice, and we're going to start finding the surface area of the different nets. Now, I can't remember exactly where we left off here, but this right here is a net of a cube. So I need you to turn to the third page to find these nets right here. Now, something we talked about with a cube is that all sides are equal because it's made up of squares. So because it's made up of squares and all sides are equal, if we know that one side is 5, we know that the other side is 5 and that all the sides are 5. So what we want to do is find the area of each square. Well, the area of a square is 5 times 5, which gives you 25. So each individual square is going to be 25 centimeters squared. And once we find the area of every shape, then we just add it all up. Now, because we have repeated addition here, we can take 25 and multiply it by how many 25s we have, which is 6. So when I have 25 times 6, I get 150 centimeters squared. These are just like the special shapes that we've been working on about how we have to chop it and find the missing side lengths and find the areas and then add all the areas up. The only difference is with your nets, the shapes are already divided up for you. You just have to figure out what's the missing pieces and side lengths and then find the areas. So what I want you to do is I want you to practice doing number 3 right here. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second and I'm going to let you solve for it and then we're going to check your work here. So I want you to do this one. You got about 30 seconds. Well, I'll give you a little bit more 30. So we'll do about 60 seconds to find the surface area of number 3. Alright, so you should have found out that each square has an area of 9, which means I have 6 9s. So 6 times 9 is 54 centimeters squared. Okay, cubes are not that difficult, so we're going to move on from your cubes, but that's how you do your cubes. All right, turn to the next page. This right here is the surface area, I'm sorry, not the surface area, is the net of a triangular prism. Okay, and this is where we highlighted and colored those that prism on Monday. So you can refer back to that in your notes, but it's going to be the same exact process. Okay, we're going to start with our yellow highlighter, and we're going to highlight the top. We talked about how everything opposite on a rectangle are congruent or the same. So if the top is 5, everything opposite of the top is also going to be 5. So those are all going to be yellow. And we can come in here and we can label our missing side pieces as 5. Okay? Now we're going to take your other special color, the blue, the pink, the purple, green, whatever color you picked. Okay? We're going to highlight the elbow pieces. And remember, the elbow pieces are those that kind of make that right angle that when you fold it up are going to touch. So here is an elbow piece, and here is an elbow piece. And each prism is going to have 2 elbow pieces, and they're going to be opposite of each other. So here is 2. Well, because this makes a rectangle, this opposite side is 2, which also forms a rectangle, or the other elbow piece, which is 2. Same thing here, 2 and 2. So now that we have our elbow pieces set, okay, we can move on to the last pieces. So grab your orange highlighter. And our last form of measurement is the ones that run up and down. Okay, everything across from the up and down are going to be orange. They're all going to be 3 centimeters. Now remember, when we folded these on Monday, we found that this right here is going to end up touching this side right here. So these are also going to be congruent. So what you have to do is you have to find the area of each shape. And so we're going to find the area of the top rectangle right here, which is 10. We're going to find the area of the rectangle here, which is 3 by 5, which gives us 15. We're going to find the rectangle here, which is 5 by 2, which is 10. We're going to find the rectangle here, which is 3 by 5, which gives us 15. And then we're going to find the rectangle on the wings. Now your wings are always going to be exactly the same. We have 3 by 2, which is 6, and 6. Now that we have the area of all 6 shapes, we can add them up. 10, that's 15, 10, that's 15, that's 6, that's 6. 10 plus 10 gives me 20, 15 plus 15 gives me 30, 6 plus 6 gives me 12. Add those up, we get 62 centimeters squared. Alright? The same process happens in number 2. We start with our yellow highlighter. We start at the top. We have all of those that run horizontally. Those are all going to be 7 inches in length. Then we trade over to our other color, and we find the elbow pieces. And they're opposites. And those are all going to be 2 inches. And we swap to orange and highlight all our vertical pieces. And those will all be 4. Now you're going to find the area of each one of these shapes. So 4 by 2 gives you 8. 4 by 7 gives me 28. 4 by 2 gives me 8. 2 by 7 gives me 14. 7 by 4 gives me 28. And 2 by 7 gives me 14. You're going to add all 6 of those sides up. If you don't have 6 numbers, then you don't have enough. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 8 is 16. 28 and 28 is 56. 14 and 14 is 28. Add all this together, and I should get 100 inches squared. Okay? Alright, I want y'all to pause the video, and I want y'all to do 3, 4, 3 and 4, and we're going to check your answers after we unpause the video. now we should have an area of 16, 16. We should have had an area of 10 and 10, 40 and 40. And you should have added those up, and you would have done 80 plus 20 plus 32, which gave you 132 centimeters squared. Here we had 18, 18, 9, 9, 18, 18. So then you could have done 4 times 18 because you had 4 18s plus 9 plus 9, which gives you another 18. So you really could have done 5 times 18, which would have given you 90 inches squared. Alright. If you turn the page, you're going to see now that we have a square pyramid. Now, square pyramids are really easy because the bases are squares, which means the square, all the sides are going to be the same, which means all our triangles are going to be exactly the same. So we have our square here. I'll highlight it in yellow, which means all these side lengths are going to be the same. So every side is going to be 6. Okay? And then our triangle each has a height of 4. Only difference with these is you're going to have to remember to use the triangle formula when solving for your triangles. So with the square, we're going to have 6 by 6, which gives you 36. With our triangles, we have base times height divided by 2. So I'm going to have to take my 6, which is my base of my triangle, times the height of my triangle, which is 4, and divided by 2. 6 by 4 is 24, divided by 2 gives me 12. So this triangle is 12. Every single triangle is going to be 12. Every triangle is going to match in this case. Okay? So now I have 5 shapes. I should have 5 numbers that I'm adding together. So I have 36 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12. You could have written it as 4 times 12 because you have 4 12s plus 36, which would give you 84 centimeters squared. Okay, you're going to come back and finish the others. I do want to show you one more net. This is the net of a triangular prism. So it's the exact same way as the rectangular prism, except the wings are triangles instead of squares or rectangles, which makes you have less shapes. Okay, so same process. You're going to take your yellow. You'll start at the top. Always start at the top because you know those are going to be the same. And those are all going to measure to be 6. Okay? Then you can look for your elbow pieces. It's still the pieces that are going to be side by side. And the fun thing about a triangular prism is all the outside pieces are going to be the exact same size. So all our blue pieces are going to be 2.5. Then I'm going to take my orange, and everything on the inside, because opposite sides are congruent, are going to be the same. So all our oranges are going to be 3. Now, same thing as everything else we've been doing, you're going to find the area of each individual shape. So I've got 6 by 2.5, which gives me an area of 15. I've got 3 by 6, which gives me an area of 18. And I've got 2.5 by 6, which gives me an area of 15. And then I've got my 2 wings. And we talked about how the wings are going to be the exact same. But remember, it's a triangle, so you have to do base times height divided by 2. So the base of my triangle is going to be 3. The height of my triangle is 2. And I have to remember to divide it by 2. 3 by 2 is 6. Divide by 2 gives me 3. So each one of my triangles is going to equal 3. Now I have to add it all up. So I have 15 plus 18 plus 15 plus 3 plus 3. Add it all up. 15 and 15 give me 30. 3 and 3 give me 6. So plus 18. Add that. 30 and 6 give me 36. Plus 18 is going to give me 54 centimeters squared. Okay? Now what I want you to do is I want you to finish out the rest of these problems in this packet. And we will check over them later tomorrow. If you have time, if you finish and there's time at the end of class, then you can work on your Excel assignments, because remember, all your FF assignments are due today by the end of the day. I will check on you guys and make sure that you are all good and well behaved. And if you need help, just save your questions, or either ask your partner or save your questions for me tomorrow. Okay? I'll see you tomorrow.